We are here at the Los Angeles Times Book Festival, joined by Laurence Smith, professor at UCLA. And Laurence, thanks for joining us. You teach geography, climate change, and a whole host of political economy-related things. But this intersection of climate change and economics is fascinating because in your new book, World in 2050, you argue that the Northern Hemisphere will have a very different perspective on climate change in the next decades as we traditionally perceive. Why don't you tell us a bit about that?
Oh, that's right, Parag. It's not to say that northern countries will trump the southern ones or anything like that, but in many ways these northern countries like Canada, even the northern US, Scandinavia, these places will actually not suffer as much as some other parts of the world in the coming years, partly due to climate change, but also other factors like immigration policy and natural resource demand.
And a whole new economic opportunities are being created by climate change, as you argue. Why don't you give us a few examples of that?
Well, one of the most profound would be the contraction of summertime sea ice in the Arctic Ocean. There's no question that this will enable increased human activity in the Arctic during the summer for a few months out of the year. Just last year, in September 2010, both the Northern Sea Route and the Northwest Passage were opened briefly free of ice for the first time in human memory.
And entirely new cities or economic clusters are going to form? Which are the countries that are taking maximal advantage of that?
Interestingly, it's already happening right under our nose in countries like Canada, for example. Canada is actually one of the fastest growing countries in the world, population-wise, on a proportional basis, with a growth rate very near that of India. This is being fueled by global immigration flows to cities like Toronto, Vancouver, places like this. In the far north, Canada is experiencing a population boom in its aboriginals thanks to a sweeping return to political power of northern peoples.
And is Greenland going to be the first country born of climate change?
That's a great question. Greenland is definitely on a path to full independence from Denmark, and interestingly that will be fueled less by climate change and more by the discovery of oil on its western coast.
Or the two really go hand in hand, right? And will Greenland become a member of the North American Union in the future, sort of the NAFTA plus of the 21st century?
You know, Greenland is definitely not pro-EU. In fact, their desire to not join the EU and their rejection of that in a referendum is what set the stage for Greenland Home Rule in 1979. So if it was going to break either way, I would say Greenland would go more for allying with Canada than with Europe.
Interesting. And so you see climate change and oil discovery shifting geopolitical patterns. And speaking of which, how about all the military machinations that are going on under the Arctic ice, with Russia planting a flag and Stephen Harper of Canada saying, about the North, use it or lose it. What's your view? Are we going to see the Arctic ice cap be militarized?
Well, it's certainly militarized during the Cold War, and there's some speculation that it could return to that. Canada in particular has always been deeply insecure about her northern sovereignty, as well she should be. She has very little presence in the Arctic as opposed to the United States and Russia, for example. That said, a lot of this talk about an Arctic war and militarization is probably overblown. There have been a number of factors that have come into place that have shown that the five Arctic powers are looking more to cooperate than to compete in this region. For example, last summer, Russia and Norway announced a settlement of a 4 decades-long territorial dispute in the North Barents Sea. This is absolutely profound. All current indications that these five powers will resolve their territory claims not through planting flags, but through the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. It seems very much that they want to get the lines drawn and get the energy companies in there.
Excellent. Laurence Smith, thanks so much for joining us on foreignpolicy.com.
Thank you, Parag. Cool.